deck we are going to be dealing with, which of course is any control card all thrown together into a very interesting list, the likes of which we've not seen before. But it's not just Sander, we also got Martin Risting here, who did get a top 64 finish at Sheffield Regionals back in 2019, so no stranger to being up near the top tables of these tournaments.
And he will be playing the one and only Sander Wojcik, in my opinion one of the scariest players to play, because you haven't got a clue what's going on. LAIC top 4 when he played that Mewtwo v Union. LAIC top 8 online event finalist. Didn't quite catch the last one there, but to be honest with you, that list could go on and on and on and on.
Very interesting. We often see with Sander, strong starts to tournaments and then tends to kind of get near top 8 or top 8 and not actually win, because as the tournament goes on, people get a better idea of what Sander's playing and get better at reacting to it, which does happen sometimes with these more unusual control decks. They're really, really, really good at the start of the tournament, and then as it goes on, it gets harder and harder to find those advantages against players that are a little more experienced playing against it. And especially if you are a top player, if you're heading towards top 8, you're going to be talking to your friends. Wait, you played Sander, what's he playing? How does his deck work? You're going to be searching for that information.
Yeah, but even so, Sander, one of the game's most premier deck build. I remember EUYC Frankfurt, man was playing Umbreon VMAX Sun and Moon Badge Cheryl Loop. I mean, even
I had
if
to
you
cast
knew,
that game,
even if you knew the cards, I wouldn't have to play against that anyway. So
I had to figure it out on the fly. I was with Joe on that game, and we had to figure it out on the fly just like a player. And sometimes against Sander, you've lost because you made a mistake 6 turns early when you didn't know what was going on. There is one of Reggie Ilecki in the prizes there for Sander. That is one to keep an eye on.
But here we go, winning in action, Swiss round 14 here at Stockholm Regionals. Let's play some Pokemon as Sander is going to get us started there. Has led that Snorlax in the active that blocks Snorlax, and that Mew EX basically can't go anywhere. It's blocked as we immediately see a Rotom V get benched for a Steel Stone attachment, and Sander will use that Start Alchemy Rush to grab any card he likes from his deck.
And then of course, if you want, you can end your turn using that Rotom to draw 3 cards, and this is actually a great start for Sander. This is a very awkward deck list. Lots of 1-offs, lots of 2-offs. You know, one of the only 4-offs in the deck is Arven, because it lets you cherry pick the other pieces of your deck so nicely. It is a very awkward deck to play, where you need to be constantly getting the right card at the right time to pull off really specific plays. So being able to have that draw early, and there's a lot of draw in Sander's deck. We've got Rotom. There's a 2-2 line of Lipard, which is your discard a card from your hand, draw 2. Not unlike Curlier, but with more hit points. We've got Fleet-footed on Entei that can be used to draw cards. And obviously we got Rotom and Forest Seal Stone. Lots of draw in Sander's deck, and then lots of individual awkward 1-offs. And I tell you what, Lugia is not a weird deck. Lugia is a very standard deck. This is a deck Sander will have prepared against.
Yep, you know, we do see, I'll let you into a little secret here, folks at home. Sander is playing that 1 copy of Giacomo. Lets you discard 1 special energy attached to each of your opponent's Pokemon. And with copies of Palpad, that can be reused over and over again. So that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. And another thing we have to keep an eye on is that Snorlax is blocking that Mew EX. And with that Bravery Charm, as we do see Sander end the turn with instant charge, that means Mew EX cannot use Genome Hack to copy Snorlax attack to KO it, since it only does 150 damage.
Yep, so that is a little bit awkward there. That Snorlax hopefully going to be there for a turn or 2. But for Martin, we know this. We've seen Lugia time and again. You want to get 2 Arcups in the discard pile.
Yeah.
You get Lugia V-Star out.
Yeah.
You use the Star Alchemy V-Star, Summoning Star V-Star power to get your 2 Arcups onto the bench.
Yeah.
And then each of them can attach 2 special energy from the deck to one of your Pokemon during your turn. And you've got Lugia as a decent attacker, and Cinccino as a massive attacker.
Massive attacker indeed, all of which are very useful. But yeah, like you said, pretty straightforward deck in the sense that that is your game plan. You do have to execute it though, but I guess if you are Martin right now, at least you're not on the super turn clock as you would be when we saw Lugia versus Brent earlier, where against control you probably have got a couple turns to get out your Arcup. It's not like an immediate turn 2.
And we have seen players against control in the past actually going single Archeops. It's not always a great idea, but the problem against these control decks is if you give too many options on the bench that can be gusted, that does make it awkward. We see an Ino coming down here, both players getting a new hand of 6.
Love to see that. So that Jet Energy attachment going to get that Lugia V in the active. It's one of the ways Lugia can actually get around that block from Snorlax, using Jet Energy to fling whatever it likes in the active. So those Jet Energy will be precious, as we do see a Capturing Aroma Tails. That means Martin can search that for a basic Pokemon and put it in, and put this straight into play.
And the thing is here, even though you went second, you don't need to get a second Lugia. You are not worried about Sander knocking out your Lugia next turn. This is not a deck that puts on big offensive pressure, so you can just leave your single Lugia in there and then kind of chill from there a little bit. There is actually a very remote possibility of using, for instance, as a Magma Basin and an Entei in the deck, which can be used as a surprise attacker. Bench Entei, use Magma Basin, attach for turn, and can hit up to 220, but that would need Martin to have a full bench, which is never going to happen pre-Archeops, so you know that Lugia is absolutely safe.
It's very safe, as Sander does start to turn off there with an Arven, as we did see Martin end his turn with a Read the Wind. And it looks like Arven, such a fantastic card right now, isn't it, Ross? Letting you grab a tool card and an item, letting you search for that Hero's Cape if Sander so desires. Now remember, Sander did have his hand reset via that Iono, so we'll have to try and rebuild and try and get the pieces of his combo.
And now it is in the prizes. I pointed out at the beginning of the game that Regieleki is in the prizes for now. But it is interesting to note that there is a Hisuian Heavy Ball that can get it out. This is one of the very few decks that can actually use multiple ace specs, because Regieleki gets a trainer card from your discard pile to your hand. So you could use Regieleki to get Hero's Cape back and get multiple uses of that card throughout the game, especially if you time it for a turn when your opponent can't attack. And let's face it, Sander wants to give Martin several turns where they can't attack.
That would be the aim of the game. Now, traditionally, Lugia's actually a deck that has, you know, an okay control matchup, because like you said, you can only get out one Archeops, you can just start attacking. That way you've got Jet Energy to get around Snorlax. But the problem about playing control is that you cannot make any mistakes, as we do see Entei getting benched with a Fire Energy, Hero's Cape attached as well, and then an instant charge. So that is a very beefy Entei V. What, 330 HP? That's the same as a Charizard EX.
Yeah, that is the same as a Charizard EX, and that's interesting because now there's actually a potential attacking threat. Now, Sander only plays 2 Fire Energy in the deck. There's 2 Fire Energy, 1 Double Turbo, and 2 Mist Energy to prevent one-hit KOs and stuff like Roaring Moon, for instance. But that could actually put on some offensive pressure. But we do see Martin here. There we see the Summoning Star V-Star power from the Lugia coming out, getting those 2 Archeops onto the bench, and now we are rolling.
Interesting decision to go for the double Summoning Star there. So I think traditionally I've seen a lot of players against control, like you mentioned and you saw on stream, 90 minutes, only going for the 1. But, you know, I mean, to be fair, 4 energy from the deck, it honestly sounds, it doesn't get any, what's the word? It doesn't get any more surprising every time I say that. 4 energy from the deck is obscene. It looks like we are going to see 1 energy attached to the active Lugia and then 1 to the bench Mincino. Obviously, that special role for Mincino has no problems hitting 330. We know that for a fact, because Mincino, well, Chincino, I should say, special roll, 70 for each special energy card attached, meaning that can hit 330 damage, no problem.
Oh, it absolutely can. That is... Oh, and we actually...
That's the prime catcher.
I love this. On to the Pidgey, of course. Pidgey evolves into Pidgeot. Pidgeot searches any card from your deck. Really, really nice index like this, where you are... well, trying to pick out individual cards every turn. There is a second Pidgey in the deck, but it's not out on the board right now. So no Pidgeot for now. And like I say, with a deck this awkward, being able to search any card every turn is a huge advantage.
It really is. So looks like Sander's going to start the turn off there by promoting that Entei V. Is in the active spot now. Hero's Cape attached. And we are going to see that Arven being played there for Sander, but for the looking at it, going to grab a tool card and an item. Does have double Purloin, so we'll be able to start getting some Lipard involved and start using that. Is it trade? It is trade ability to discard 1, draw 2. Love that. Trade
by name, trade by nature. You will remember it from Zoroark GX from a few years ago. It is the same as Refinement on Curlier. And the reason you go Lipard over Curlier is purely because you have extra HP.
Yes.
This is a beefier Curlier. You have no interest in ever evolving it, so that's why you would go for this over your Curlier.
I guess as well, Sander does play double turbo energy. You could attack with Slash if needs met. So there's also that option as well. That will be seeing that, but you never know. It's a possibility.
Yes,
I would love to see it.
I would love it, finishing out a game with a Slash on a Lipard. Someone I've never seen on stream. I would enjoy watching it on stream. I do rather suspect maybe that's less than completely likely. Now, we do see the fleet-footed from Entei here, drawing an extra card. And with a full bench, now is there a V-Guard energy on the Arceus?
No, Jet Energy DT gift.
So you would be doing 200 if you filled your bench. So you're maxing out at 200 with the Entei. Wouldn't even KO a V, let alone a V-Star.
Nope.
But you could start putting some offensive pressure on here with the Entei. And then all you need to do is kind of force your opponent, get rid of a few energy. Then there's free counter catcher in the deck. Maybe you can start dragging some stuff and keeping it in the active.
And it looks like Sander has drew into another copy of Lipard. He evolved the bench one after Arvin for Ultra Ball. Going to use trade for a second time. And this is where Sander's deck's going to start getting a bit scary. We see an extra card. Is going to play a Nest Ball there to grab the Pidgey, because Sander doesn't want to try and get that Pidgeot, I should say, as soon as possible. And yeah, I'm liking this position here from Sander. I mean, it looks like Martin was in a very offensive there using a Prime Catcher, but with one Jet Energy gone and one Prime Catcher, those ways of getting around Snorlax were starting to get a little low.
Yeah, and that's what you really want to do with your Sander. Just get through a few turns, make sure that your opponent's gotten rid of a few options to get away, and then that's where Snorlax comes in. Sure, you can just retreat, and you've got plenty of energy to retreat, and that's all absolutely true, but not if there's a Snorlax in the active, and that is a little bit of a problem. There are 4 Jet Energy in the list, as we would expect, so there's still a couple more ready, but that Lugia is, for the time being, all right, needs to be a bit careful. Lugia, not Arceus, just to be clear.
Yeah. Now that would be a surprise. So it looks like we are just going to see it over to, is it Martin's turn? I think it is, yep. And let's see what he chooses to do. We do see the Mist Energy get attached there to that Entei as well. We are going to see another Mist Energy get attached to that Benjamin Sino. And, I think Martin's debating. Oh, we are going to see a Serena to bring up that Rotom V. Ooh, and that is a Tempest Dive KO.
Yeah, Rotom V.
Oh, but we do see the collapse as well. Sorry, Ross. So that means Sander will have to discard one of those bench Pokemon. And there goes that Snorlax.
Oh, that is not ideal at all. You do not want to get rid of the Snorlax. But what you're going to do, you got your Entei, which has got all your energy. You got your Pidgey that you want to evolve up into a Pidgeot to search out any card you like. And you got your 2 Lipard that are going to be drawing a bunch of cards to help you get stuff like your Pidgeot. You don't want to get rid of the Snorlax, but remember, this is a deck that is used to recovering cards. You've got your Superrod there. You've got Silene as well. I believe you've got Silene.
Yeah,
yes, you do have Silene in the deck.
Just top decked it.
There we go. So cards going away from Sander here. They can come back. This is a deck which is very used to playing a lot of one-offs. There's not just searching them out you need to be doing, it's also recovering them.
Oh, and it looks like we see the Radiant Charizard coming down. Love to see that. Now, we do know that Sander does play 1 copy of Defiance Bell. So that means Combustion Blast 250 plus that 30 is 280. That would get around any Rogue V-Guard energy as well. So that Combustion Blast Charizard is looking a little bit terrifying. We're going to see Lipard as well. Going to use trade, or maybe not. We're just going to see the Fleet-Footed first. There we go. Maximum information. Draws into Calamitous Wasteland, boosting the retreat cost of basic non-fighting Pokemon by 1. And now we do see the trade being used. Discarding Ultra Ball to draw 2.
Yeah, still got another trade to go. Would love to see a rare candy Pidgeot here. That would be lovely just to get that into the active. There's only 2 rare candy in the deck, but of course, as soon as you get your Pidgeot, everything is on the board. And whereas that Pidgey went down very easily, Pidgeot does not go down as easy. You would need a big Chinchino KO to actually pull that off.
Looks like the trade drew into Nespal and Eri. Probably not what we're after. I mean, you could use that penny to pick up the Entei. That is a possibility. It's like Silene could be opted, could be debated here for Sander. But I tell you what, Martin's done a really good job here of just applying pressure and not really, you know, doing too much. We've
got a Minchino ready to evolve and attack. We've got a Mew that's got free retreat and can also genome hack to attack as well. You've got your one Lugia in attacking position and you've got your Archeops. That's what you've got. That's all you need here. Yep. You're not mucking about. You are trying to make this as easy as possible so you don't have a lot of superfluous stuff. But with only one Archeops on the field, this is the potential issue. We see it gusted.
Ooh, with an Eri as well. Could hit the Great Ball, but we do, Tanad will get deck knowledge, hand knowledge there. 2 Jet Energy in hand, Ross.
Yeah, Jet Energy in hand is not ideal. That is not really what you're looking for here. And there's nothing that can get the energy out of the hand. But we do get the KO on the Archeops here. And maybe Sander's just going to play a more traditional attacking game here. Because he's already taken 2 prizes. And that Charizard is, I mean, put it this way, if Entei goes down... Oh, see, this is where the prize up gets interesting. If Entei goes down, then Charizard can attack for a single energy to get rid of the Lugia, but then in theory, Chinchino comes in and KOs a Charizard, and that's it, game over. But how soon do we get to that level with no Archeops on the field with which to accelerate energy?
Yeah, Martin will be treating those energy attachments like gold dust. As we do see Martin use that Morty's Conviction, and you discard 1 card from your hand to draw 1 for each Pokemon your opponent has in play. Love to see that. And we do see an Ultra Ball being played there as well, that nice League Cup promo as well. Yeah, and I guess Martin's probably not used to not having any Archeops in play, but you're right, Sander's done a real good job there, because if the Lugia did come up and start swinging, no, the Combustion Blast Charizard has no problem dealing with that. So, yeah, well, an interesting scenario here from Sander. Let's see how this game pans out.
It's really awkward right now. If the Entei didn't... Oh, no, the Entei's at 230 to begin with. The Entei's causing the problem here.
Yes.
Now, in theory, you take care of the Entei with a Chinchino. But Chinchino can hit 210 this turn with an attachment. But that's kind of nowhere near Entei.
No.
So now you can't KO the Entei, and you've got no Archeops to accelerate energy, and you're not getting any more Archeops. So you're kind of in a really awkward position where if you can KO that Entei, you've got 1 prize remaining, you're going to win the game. You've got attackers, you're fine. The issue becomes... what have you got to get rid of that Entei? It's going to be a 2-hit KO. It's basically going to be 2 more turns of Martin attacking to win the game. But if Sander can get a KO on this Lugia and on the Chinchino, that will be game for Sander, essentially, but then Mew could come potentially in. So there's still lots of ifs, buts, and maybes. Both players leaving a lot of options open.
Worth noting that Sander did draw into Rare Candy off that first use of trade. So Rare Candy Pidgeot will be live. We also see the Defiance band coming in. Giacomo now is awfully valuable. That would discard 3 special energy here. And wow, what an interesting game this has been. Like you said, you know, we've got prize mapping to take into account. We've got, you know, control options to be taken into account, you know. Oh, goodness gracious me, Ross.
Giacomo would be amazing here. Would be absolutely stunning. It would put Chinchino down to basically 140 damage.
Yep.
It would take the Mew, it would put the Mew to a 2 energy attachment before it can attack. But it would also mean you would need to attach to the Lugia in order to attack right now.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean...
and you can only attach 1 energy per turn, Ross, when you haven't got Archeops out.
Yeah, and Giacomo getting rid of free energy when your opponent's down to attaching 1 per turn would be absolutely brutal, and I think it is in hand there. You've got it, yeah, It's in hand, ready to roll. This has got to be the turn for Giacomo, surely. I mean, how many other times are you going to get free energy discarded with that?
Yeah, you're right. That can't be too often. That seems to be insanely high value. We do see Power Pad potentially being taken off Quick Search. Yep. That Pidgeot EX, that Quick Search ability. Then you grab once per turn any card you like from your deck. Looks like Sander has chosen Power Pad.
And for control, Sander's got some good attacking options here.
Yeah.
Entei, decent attacker. Charizard, decent attacker.
Oh. Here we go.
Here we go. Giacomo for free energy.
Ooh.
Not what we usually see. I don't think I've ever seen a Giacomo for free energy before. And actually, as a little side note here, not only have you got rid of an energy off the Lugia, forcing it to reattach to attack, but it's got to be a double turbo to get an attack off. And there's at least 2 double turbo in the discard, if not more. So the combination of control and attacking is what Sander's bringing us here, and it's working kind of beautifully.
Wow, that is a max value Giacomo right there. If you ever see it, we see a DTE attachment to Pidgeot. Let's not forget, that can attack as well. We Tord was attacking with it yesterday. Defiance bans, that's going to put that damage up. That, what would that be there? 130 when he's behind on prizes, which he currently is.
Yeah, 130 damage on the Pidgeot, 120, minus 20 for the double turbo, plus 30 for the Defiance ban. But also, very much worth pointing out, what's mine doing 280 with right now? The answer is nothing.
Yep,
you need 4 energy on a Cinccino. It's not happening.
But a whole lot of nothing. A whole lot of nothing is doing 280 from Martin's side of the board. As we do see that burning Rondo. And it is over to Martin.
Needs a double turbo to get a return KO. Now, with a double turbo, this is absolutely not out of reach here. Because you double turbo on the Lugia. I believe that would be enough to get the KO on the Entei at this point.
Yep.
And then you've got Cinccino, and you could just single attach the Cinccino. It's doing 140. It can take out a bench Lipard.
Yes.
You would need gusting, and you would need an energy, and you have to have double turbo this turn, or else Sander's actually going to win the prize race somehow.
Yeah.
But if you get the double turbo this...
Ooh, jet energy.
I mean, this is just the other way around. This also works. Same kind of deal. It's just the attacks are the other way around. It still works perfectly.
And we do see that Professor's Research being played there as well, discarding 1 copy of Jet Energy and Aluminium, worth noting. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. We do see the bench Cinccino being evolved as well.
Worth pointing out, double turbo on Lugia will not KO Charizard with a Bravery Charm, will be 10 damage short. Charizard will have 210 with Bravery Charm, and Lugia will be hitting 200. So it would still need to be the Lipard you KO'd. You couldn't get a Charizard.
Definitely possible there, for sure, though. Worth noting, actually, I apologize. I said Luminion was a one-of in Martin's deck. Does play a second copy, so
that is unusual.
Luminion is still an out, so that Luminion in deck could become that boss's orders, like you said, off the back of his Entei KO for Martin to steal this game.
But would need the double turbo. So it's quite simple. You need double turbo and gusting.
Yes.
That is what you're looking for if you're Martin. You're not going to KO the active Pidgeot. You don't do enough damage. You're not going to KO a Radiant Charizard. You don't do enough damage. And Sander can get a bunch of prizes here while leaving Pokemon in the active that are safe. Because I love Cinccino. It's not doing much now. It's got no energy. It's got no Archeops. Cinccino ain't doing much right now. Nope. It's got to be the Lugia. But you only got 1 prize remaining.
Yes.
Get double turbo, get gusting, KO Lipard, win game. That's how Martin wins this.
Sounds like a pretty straightforward plan there. We are going to see Trade going to get rid of that Chi-Yu. Misfortune Sisters, Giacomo again. That could be super impactful.
I mean, Giacomo makes the attack with Lugia so difficult at this point. All it really does is get rid of 1 energy from the Lugia because you're KOing the Cinccino anyway.
Yep, you are, because it's got 110 plus 3 win, 100 minus 120 minus 20 plus 30.
Which is 130, which is 20 over the Cinccino's HP. So you got the KO on the board. If you can get rid of an energy off the Charizard, the Lugia again, Martin might just be out of attackers.
Yeah. Or at least be out of attackers that you can power up realistically. Worth noting, Sander did play Hisu in Heavy Ball to liberate that Reggie Ilecki from the prizes, so that electromagnetic radar will be an option as well, potentially, if you'd like it, grabbing back any trainer from your discard pile and popping it back into your hand. But I'm so impressed with Sander right now, just totally dissecting Martin's board and doing it with Pokemon that aren't traditionally, seen that often. Like Pidgeot is doing the finest of work here.
And this has not been a full-on control game. It's not been locking Pokemon in the active or any of that. There's been just enough control. A counter catcher here, a Giacomo there. Just enough to annoy. Oh, but here we go. Giacomo comes down. The energy off the Cinccino is irrelevant. The energy off the Lugia is not. And there is an argument here. Actually, maybe it is run off the Cinccino. Maybe Reggie Lecky comes out now. But I think we could still just be seeing a KO on that Cinccino and basically say to Martin, you're not attacking. And here we go.
Blustery wind, everyone close the windows, as we do see that collapsed stadium getting discarded as well.
Oh, the wind's coming in, it's knocking everything over, Shay.
Yep, everyone batten down the hatches, nail down your things, it's getting windy up in here. Martin down to 1 prize card, what can he do? We could see a special roll for 70.
We could.
It's an option. Not a good one, but...
Yeah, it wouldn't even be 70, it'd be 50.
It'd be 50.
Because the double turbo would reduce it by 20.
Yeah,
but yeah, go ahead, do 50 with Cinchino. Because that is honestly like the best option right now.
It really is.
And that's the thing, with these control decks, you don't really have to mill out your opponent like we saw with Great Tusk on stream yesterday. This is the dream. Oh, what's that? You've got nothing. Now, I really like what Martin's doing here. Basically going, right, I've got an energy on Mew. I'm going to get Mew out of the active. And now, if I hit a double turbo next turn, I can use genome hacking to copy and attack. It is the best possible scenario.
You could copy genome hack on the combustion blast for the KO, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And that would be game over.
Yeah. If you're doing combustion blast.
Oh, no. Wait a minute. Sanders just going to play that power pad. Are we going to see power pad, quick search, Giacomo just say, oh, genome hack?
Of course we're going to see that.
Definitely not.
Obviously we're going to see that.
Stop that business right there, please.
We've still got Pidgeot in the active, which means when you play a Power Pad, you might as well just play the support card to hand. Versus Seeker
is about to say Power Pad is basically VS Seeker in that scenario. Go on, Giacomo, you little rascal. Come back out then.
Yeah, I don't think anyone watching this game, there's going to be no surprise as to what supporter card is going to be coming out this turn, because it basically takes Lugia down to 0 energy, and that's done at that point. He's not attacking. And then Mew is still 2 attachments, including a double turbo away from attacking. I've never seen so much Giacomo in one game.
Never seen so much Giacomo. He's really, making some victory music there. Oh my goodness.
I'm not sure if I've even seen Giacomo used in a game I've commentated, honestly.
Really?
But I'm not sure I've ever seen it. I definitely have now.
God, Giacomo is definitely the MVP right now. One absolute super trooper. And we even get a KO with Blustery Wind as well.
Oh, this is weird. It's a control deck, but it's a control deck that's frustrating its opponent, but it's also winning the prize trade.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not, but it's gonna.
Yeah. And
mine's got nothing to attack with.
Could see gentle slap from Cintino. Oh, here comes Luminion though. Okay. Luminion for boss. Okay. Going to go for maybe a little bit of a stall. Maybe bring up something. I mean, Lipard can't get pennied, which is something, because penny only works for basics. So, see, missed energy attachment to active Mew. It's going to be Regieleki and a pass.
Now, Regieleki does have
not a pass, sorry, a restart, and now we see a pass. I apologise. And there's Penny.
You called it yourself. Radiant Charizard gets the KO, and we are going to game 2. Sander up 1-0, and here's the thing, right? Martin went down to 1 prize remaining in that game. Martin had some good offensive pressure, but from a couple turns in, it never really seemed in doubt. It just looked like Sander absolutely had that under control, and that's the advantage you have when you're playing a weird deck like this. Sander has tested, I guarantee you, against Lugia time and time again.
Yep.
Sander's got this exact matchup completely sorted. This is how I beat Lugia.
Yep.
How many times do we honestly think that Martin has tested against this? Oh, Lipard control, yeah, mate. Play against it every night.
No, definitely not. That Giacomo being used over and over and over again. We know he's a bit of a music sensation. Giacomo, I'm sure Sander's saying thank you for the music there, and just over and over and over. And it's just so debilitating, because once the Archeops are down, as we saw, where you can't just burst a lot of energy into play, when you're forced to just attach one for turn, Giacomo just says, hold on, you've attached for turn, let's just stop that now. Discard that, and then if you get multiple off different Pokemon, we even saw at the end, didn't really come up too much, but when the Lugia was in the active with 1 energy, Giacomo got rid of that. That couldn't even retreat even if it needed to. Nope. It's just, goodness gracious me, Giacomo plus Power Pad plus Quick Search against Lugia is just a terrifying place to be.
Yeah, and I think it's not out of order to say Sander's deck is not a beginner deck. No. Sander's deck has got so many different cards, and the strategy for this changes massively. Chi-Yu, great for milling, probably not coming up in this particular matchup. Sandshrew, basically not going to be something we're really worried about here. No. Regieleki to recover trainer cards, maybe, but it's not really what you're going for. before.
No.
Sander showed us how to beat Lugia with his deck. You get some decent attackers, you get a few turns with, you know, basically stopping attacks to buy yourself some turns, and then you Giacomo every turn.
Yeah, and that's just extremely, extremely strong. And that's the thing about these Sander decks, is that you have this different cards for different matchups, as you say, right? Like, we didn't see the Sandshrew, don't need that. However, when you have the live part to just discard those cards you don't need, draw into the cards you need, and all of a sudden you can just pick your little, you know, 3, 4, 5 card package that you do need, Giacomo, Power Pack, Pidgeot, and all of a sudden we're off to the races. And quite honestly, it's just poetry in motion. But the Achilles heel is it can be sometimes quite hard to get to those cards and have a stable board yourself. Can Sander do that another time? It's one way to find out.
Yeah, we are going to find that out. There is a judge call going on now for the moment, but I think we got a little bit of a treat. I think what we're going to do, we're going to take a mobile camera, and we're going to go and look at some of the other games that are going on during this round, because it's one of my favorite things to do during a tournament. Because we're here as part of the casting team, the judges are all very lovely. They let us wander around the tables when we're not casting to see what's going on, and I think we're going to try and get a little bit of a flavor of that going on for the lovely ladies and gentlemen at home, so they can, you know, get a sense of what it's like to be a caster at one of these events when you're not actually casting, just having a little bit of a peek over all of these other games, because I know you do it too, Shay. I love it.
Of course, one of the best things about having the staff badge, you can have a little waltz down all the tables and see, you know, any weird and wonderful decks, or just getting a real flavor for the meta game that, you know, see what's going on. So yeah, it looks like we have that's John Eng there with that Chen Pao. We saw him on stream, you know, in day one. Looks like in a fantastic position. I'd love to see it join in. Ross, one of the game's most premier players.
Oh, absolutely. I've gone pegged for a top 8 because we had a top 32 finish and then a top 16 finish, both with Chen Pao. So surely it's time for a top 8 finish. We've got to be careful though, Shay, of course.
Yep.
They're not wearing headphones.
No, got to be careful.
So we can't be giving anything away.
Give anything away. I think John Eng is playing against Faris Sakum there, so no stranger to the top tables. You know, Pokémon TCG runs in that family, so Faris will be doing his best to try and topple John, and I'm sure John's doing everything he can to try and win as well. But look at that lovely arena there. It's always fun. It's always interesting, actually. I hear this a lot sometimes in the chat where people don't realize, you know, how big these stadiums, arenas are that we have these viewers in. If you just watch the stream, if you've never been to one of these, sometimes the scale can get lost. Like, we are always in big venues and the seats are always forming. This is day 2, so not the fullest right now. But yesterday, they would have been really full. I want to give a massive shout out to that hive there in the middle. That's where all the lovely judges and tournament staff and, you know, match slip runners and people that input the data, all that good stuff. Without those people, these events, Ross, they couldn't run. I wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be here, players wouldn't be here. So a massive shout out to them.
I mean, the tournament could run without casters, but don't, because we'd be bored, right? Tournament can't run without the hive.
No.
Without the hive, there is no tournament making it work. So we've got a shot from the other side of the same matchup here with that Chen Pao, and looks like, oh, we got an Ino coming down. Yeah, we're seeing that all over all of the games. Ino making players shuffle. It's one of the biggest cards in the game right now. Oh, and it looks like we've got our old friends Charizard and Chen Pao. Also, just following off my other point, when you come to a tournament, thank your judges.
Yes.
They are here making sure you can play the tournament when you get a minute. Thank your judges, thank your TOs, thank the Hive. They are the people that make these tournaments actually work.
No, yeah, like we said, you know, thank the Hive staff, thank the judges, thank everyone, to be honest. In these events, just be nice, be thankful. Shout out to all the people watching from the stage as well. It's always nice to see players getting involved and watching the action as it pans out, you know, as we are in the business end of the day now. You know, after this, whoa, we're into the top cuts, the top 8, top 4, and the... All right, welcome back there. Thank you so much. Hearing that top insight there from Ryan, who I think is going to be in the top 8, I think. So it'd be nice to see how he pans out. I just always love hearing just the intricacies of the matchup. He was just talking. I'm just absorbing.
Yeah, it's always nice to hear. Now, there was an irregularity that was found during the deck check. A warning was issued to Sander, nothing more than that. So we are going to be able to get straight back into the game here. Ooh. And we are going to be able to get our game 2. And it's going to be, I enjoyed game 1. Game 1 was fun. It's going to be nice getting back into it. Martin's going to be saying, don't shut me down. But you know what? Sander's going to be saying, sorry, that's the name of the game. game.
Yeah, I think Sander's just going to be trying to get that Giacomo as often as possible. Giacomo saying, remember when you danced with me? It all was very, very strong. So let's see. Sander currently 1 game up here, 24 minutes. Plenty of time realistically for some games, and let's see what Martin can do.
And obviously we did pause the clock while that was all going on.
Yes, it should go without saying, yeah.
So we are going to carry on. The players are going to have their remaining time. And look, Sander's 1 game up. And in that last game, like I say, Martin took a bunch of prizes, but it never really looked like Sander was out of control there. It seemed like, pun intended,
I was about to say.
it seemed like Sander had it completely in hand the whole game of, I don't mind you taking a few prizes, it's going to be okay. Prize 2, TM Devolution out of 2. But you know what? Doesn't really matter in this matchup, so you're probably all right.
No, I think that's fine. We are going to see Martin. Oh, no. Luminion attached pass. Not the greatest or most explosive of turns. It is over to Sander, who's going to start the turn off by playing a nest ball, who has led that 1 copy of Reggie Ilecki.
The good news is I don't think there's any realistic attack that Sander can throw out here that will go and get a KO.
No.
So that means that, you know, Martin's going to have a turn or 2 to draw out of this. The problem is, if you slow down against a control deck like Sander's playing, you give them a couple of turns to set up, to get the Pidgeot, to get the Lipard, and that basically means that Sander is going to have access to all of those annoying tricks. He's going to have access to what he wants when he wants it, and then you're kind of set up, but it doesn't matter so much because you don't get to do what you want to do.
And not doing what you want to do isn't very advantageous, is it, Ross? So
put it mildly.
So let's see what Martin can try and do. Reduce that nest ball, concluding for that Rotom V. Remember, Martin does need to win this game to keep his top 8 chances alive, because the winner of this game, the winner wins it all, as it were. So Martin needs to try and win 2 games in quick fashion.
Yeah, absolutely he does. He needs to win 2 games where Sander just needs... I mean, Sander doesn't actually need to do anything. Sander needs to not lose. Yeah. If this game doesn't finish, Sander is going to be in top 8 of a win. If Sander wins this game, he's going to be in top 8 of a win. The only way Sander doesn't make top 8 is if Martin wins this game, because I believe a tie is not going to be quite good enough for either of them. There's going to be too many players on too many points. What have we seen?
That was just a very costly research. Dig out the 2 archetypes, but a lot of energy, and we know how valuable those energy are, as we do see that Luminion pay retreat on the back of that Professor's research. Mincino in the active with a gift energy. Can use Call for Family to grab 2 basic Pokemon and put them on your bench if you like.
It isn't too bad. You don't have any Lugia yet, but of course you are going to the end of the turn, so that's all right. And then of course you can just Summoning Star to get both of your Archeops out, and straight away, I mean, this is, if you take away the Luminion, this is what you're looking for. Couple of Minccino, you've got your Lugia, and then you can have 1 or 2 Archeops as you like. Try and get that energy out. Didn't work in the first game, but if you can just get a few attacks off nice and quickly before the control really starts hurting you, you can rush to a victory against some of these control decks. It's where the game wears on, and you start getting hit with multiple Giacomo, and you start getting stuff trapped in the active. That's when it goes bad. We've got a pair of nest balls here. What are we going to see?
Well, we saw 1 conclude for a Purloin. These are worth noting. These were drew into off the Rotom V's instant charge. Fantastic ability for those control decks, allowing to end your turn and draw 3. And it looks like Pidgey will be getting eyed up for that second one, and that seems very efficient if you ask me. Worth noting though, mine's in a pretty good spot. I did have double Archeops in the bin already. Lugia V down. Has a retreat option for Mincino if he would like to. If he wants to swing with the active, he can, provided it can evolve, of course. So, you know, mine doing well. The only problem is that Luminion V. We know that's very likely to get stranded if Sander likes via Snorlax block. So I think Martin would try and remove that via Collapse Stadium if he can.
I would certainly want to admit, you know, what you could do is go double Archeops, then you've got a full bench, and Collapse Stadium would then get rid of the Luminion, because, you know, most everything else in your deck can attack. But Luminion can't attack. Like,
there we go. Immediately, sorry, as we just mentioned, that Luminion straight back in the active via boss's orders.
But you do have Jet Energy in the deck. There's 4 copies of Jet Energy, so look for that. Use that to get your Minccino or Cinccino back into the active, and then go from there, because that fish is not going to be in a great position. Looks like we are just going to manual attach and retreat. There's no Snorlax in the active yet.
Nope.
And Iono is going to come down, shuffle up, cards at the bottom of your deck. We'll roll from here.
Yep, sounds good to me. Get those energies back into the deck. It was worth noting Martin D having a Lugia V Star as well, so Summoning Star will be live.
Always nice.
Both players get 6, of course. If we do see the Chinchino double evolution, all the gang out.
Now the question is, can you... I mean, if there's a collapsed stadium in hand, that'd be great. Now we do see the Summoning Star. You've got 2 Archeops there. You can go and grab if you so wish, and obviously you do. And then we start getting all of that energy out. So here we go. 4 energy total. Remember, each Archeops has to go to 1 target Pokemon.
Yep.
So it's not 4 energy. It's 2 lots of 2 energy, and each lot of 2 is refined to 1 Pokemon, or confined, I should say. So there's, just free onto the Lugia, no mucking about. Was that all 3 in 1? Yeah, I was going to say, that's all 3 in 1 go, so that had to be double Archeops there. Just didn't see one go into the side for a second.
There we go. So it looks like we're going to see a pay retreat of that Luminion. That missed energy will need to get discarded, and there it goes. And so Tempest Dive is now live. We'll be doing 200 damage thanks to that double turbo energy attachment, but that's more than enough. We're going to see an Ultra Ball, discarding an Ultra Ball and another Archeops, and it's just be for deck cleaning at this point.
Yeah, there's nothing you need. You can't bench anything. There's nothing on board that can even evolve. You are just getting stuff out of your deck at this point. Getting a Luminion out of the deck. So that's an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. You know, if you need to panic Luminion for whatever reason, at least it's already there in hand, I guess.
Might just be there's absolutely nothing in hand, so saving that for later. But honestly,
Yes.
a lot of the setup's done here at this point. You've got your double Chinchino, you've got your double Archeops. Really here is just trying to make sure Sander doesn't punish you too much. I mean, certainly starting Luminion was a bad call, but we do see the fleet-footed. I say a bad call, a bad beat. It's probably a better way to put it. And we draw 1 card, which I think was Misfortune Sisters.
Yeah, not a card that's terribly useful against Lugia. It doesn't play too many items, plays a high count of energy and Pokemon. We are going to see the Arven now. Worth noting, Sander did have the rare candy in hand, I believe. So this Arven could search for Ultra Ball or for a Soul Stone as well. And that could grab the Pidgeot. Rare candy Pidgeot, quick search would be live.
And that is absolutely what you're going for. Does seem to be going after a counter catcher as well, which doesn't surprise me. There's 3 copies in Sander's deck. And it's hard to look through because there's so many things, but it looks like the only things played more than the 2 of are the 4 Arven and the 3 counter catcher. Oh, and the 4 Nest Ball, of course. So that really tells you how much Sander loves that counter catcher. You can attack, but let's be clear, in most matchups, you're going down at least in the early game, if not for the whole game. Counter catcher becomes a very valuable item to just strand something in the active. So here comes a Forest Seal Stone.
Looks like Star Alchemy is going to be used. I wonder if Sander will be looking to try and eye up counter catcher in the Archeops again. If we do see that Pidgeot being taken off Star Alchemy, that means quick search is online. So now any card Sander likes from the deck, he can go and grab. Now, do you think he's going to go after an Archeops again?
Could go after an Archeops again. It's awkward when there's 2 there, but I mean, there's not that much energy on the field, and crucially, there's not on that many Pokemon. So what you can do, if all the energy is confined to 1 Pokemon, you could go after an Archeops, but even then, there's 3 more energy that could come down next turn. But if it's all on 1 Pokemon, you KO it. If you spread it around, you Giacomo.
Yep.
So there is an argument here that if you've got this option open, and we know they do, just bring up the Archeops, get the KO with the Entei here,
yep,
and then maybe do the same thing next turn, then start using Giacomo, and we see a game very similar to game 1. Oh, you got no Archeops? Be a shame if someone got rid of all your energy.
Well, that's the thing. Lugia's not used to realistically having no Archeops in play. Sure, you make the argument that sometimes 1 Archeops gets bossed and KO, but both in 1 game, a bit more rare. So it looks like Mist Energy was taken off the quick search, so that is going to be... Oh, we're going to see a Snorlax. Oh, we're going to see a counter catcher block, maybe. No, Mist Energy to the active. And it looks like counter catcher into... Ooh,
no, it's got to be Archeops.
Into an Archeops. So that Entei is staring deep into the Archeops Angel Eyes, and we'll take that KO with Burning Rondo.
I love you. You tried to get the suspense there, but it's like, we've already said it's going to be Archeops.
I saw the Snorlax get a bench, and I wasn't sure. Maybe we're going to see a little bit of a block, but...
Oh, no. I think the block might be coming, Shay. Don't you worry. I think there could absolutely be a block coming in. option. But I think it seems to be, for the time being, let's go after the Archeops. And then, certainly when the Archeops is done, then block becomes a way more fun option.
But I think that's just what makes it so hard playing against this style of a deck. Because it's like, you have to play around the block threat, you have to play around the Entei, you got to play around apparently Blustery Rind as well, you got to play around Giacomo, as we do see Martin start to turn off there with an Iono. And you know what, Ross? Maybe you can play around one of these at one time. Maybe if you're a top player, you can play around two. But playing around like 3 or 4 different threats, it's just too much.
No, well, like I said, where'd you put your energy? You spread it out, Giacomo gets you put it all in one Pokemon, and Sander gets a big KO, and then all of a sudden it's all gone from there. There's no real good answer to where to put all of your energy. Now, Capturing Aroma comes down, it's a heads, so that will let you search for an evolution Pokemon. Not even sure what Martin even really needs here, certainly in terms of evolution.
Yeah, I think you just take it just for Decton at this point, right?
Yeah,
I guess. Like,
I would say
there's
so.
no I think, was that even a failed search? I think it was. Just saying, nope, don't need any of that. We're going to see an Ultra Ball instead that will be able to grab what he likes, and that is that Mew EX.
Yeah, that's what he was going for the Capturing Aroma. We saw it in the previous game, and although it didn't work out in the previous game, you can still see where he's coming from. It's still a really nice option to copy attacks. It's great into the Radiant Charizard. It's a free retreater if you're not being blocked by Snorlax. So it's a great utility card. And, of course, it can draw until you've got 3 cards in your hand.
Yeah, we did see the restart going to draw into a Jet Energy there. Looks like we're going to see some Primal Turbo, I imagine, to the active. So this Chincino can take a big special roll KO. This Chincino saying, take a chance on me, Martin. I'll be able to take a big KO here. And let's see if he can ride that to victory.
I mean, it's certainly going to be a good shout for the time being. It's doing 280. Hey, the Collapse Stadium gets rid of the Luminion. That's what we were saying. That is huge. That Luminion is the only thing on the board that cannot mount a decent attack.
Now, we'll see, this Incineroar of 110 HP. Now, Blustery Wind could get there if he was to attach Defiance Band again. As we do see that live pod coming down from Brilliant Stars. Debate whether to use that trade. We are going to see it being played there. Going to get rid of the Arven, draw 2. Now, this Tintino is a threat, though. Oh, we do see the Defiance Band get drawn into.
Yeah, that's huge. That means double turbo will get a KO with that Pidgeot. Should be a little bit low, but it's not a little bit low. Should be 100 with the double turbo, which is annoying because Cinchino's got 110.
Yep.
But the Defiance Band, because Sander is behind on prizes, will do an extra 30. It could be a Vitality Band, frankly.
Yep.
But it's not. It's a Defiance Band, and it will get the KO.
So let's see if that's what he chooses to go for. I guess in an ideal world, you'd love to get rid of that other Archeops again and repeat a game 2. But this Cinchino is doing 280 right now at 714, 2928. So that means that would actually KO that Pidgeot EX. So has to kind of deal with that. We are going to see Quick Search being used here. This will tell us about what Sander is going to try and do.
And it's an awkward situation all around, but essentially if you go after the Archeops here, you're giving Martin a big KO, potentially on the Pidgeot for 2 prizes. If you go after the Cinchino, yes, Archeops stays around for another turn, but Lugia is kind of irrelevant. There's nothing great for Mew to copy right now, and yes, you can get energy on Cinchino, but not enough energy to KO the Pidgeot. So if you KO the Cinchino now, the Pidgeot should survive another turn, and then that turn you can go after the Archeops. But it's very, very awkward. It's one of those where there's many different things Sander can do here.
I guess there was a world, the dreamer scenario would be, Hero's Cape would also, Hero's Cape would work actually.
Yeah,
I guess there was a dreamer scenario where you could maybe kind of catch up Archeops while playing a Giacomo. That would, get you the KO on the Archeops and then reset the damage or special roll. Unfortunately, the hand did not support that. So it looks like Sander's going to play this Arven, iron up the Hero's Cape and a Nest Ball.
And there is a double turbo in hand if you want to attack with Pidgeot, which, I mean, it seems like a decent idea to me. Get rid of the thing with all the energy on. Essentially, there is more energy on the Cinchino than the Archeops can get into play. So you're basically getting rid of more energy by getting rid of the Cinchino now than the Archeops, and the Archeops will still be there to be KO'd next turn. And you really don't want to leave something on the board that can KO your Pidgeot, because that's how you use Quick Search.
Yep, that Pidgeot is the life and blood of this deck. We are going to see that Nest Ball concluding to grab that Purloin as that gets put onto the bench. So you do see Defiance Band and DT in hand, so that blustery wind for KO. I'm telling you, I told everyone to close the windows, not let the wind in, but I don't think you listened, because we might be seeing some blustery wind coming here again.
Here we go. He did not shut the windows when you suggested, Shay. That wind is coming in. It's knocking everything off the windowsill. That pie is nice and cool, but the Cinccino has gone and been knocked out. And I love this play because Archeops, one Archeops for one turn, frankly, doesn't do enough.
And we do see the Collapse Stadium getting discarded as well. That blustery wind rolled that Cinccino all the way off the windowsill, as we said. Mew EX is getting promoted. And let's see what Martin can do. Does have 2 energy available to invite Primal Turbo. Gift energy activation as well, so did get dropped to 7. Great ball being played.
What's he going to hit off here? Could get another Luminion, which you take just for filling the deck, honestly.
Yep.
Play it, discard it, whatever you want to do. Just get it out of the deck. The fewer cards in your deck you don't want, the more likely you are to draw into the cards that you do. But as we've seen, maybe not the best Pokemon to drop until you need it, but certainly I've got 2 prizes left. I'm going to drop it to grab a boss's order to take out the Rotom. Now that I can get on board with.
Yep, that would be nice. We do see Gift Energy getting attached to the Mew EX. Primal Turbo activation. Ooh, to that active with a Jet Energy.
And we can use Genome Hack in here. The thing is, Pidgeot's kind of rubbish at KOing Pidgeot. Does 120 damage. Well, Pidgeot's got 280 right now. You're miles away. You're not even 2-hit KOing. 2 hits, you're still 40 away. And that's the thing. Mew is great if your opponent's got a Pokemon that can KO itself. We do get a Tails off Capture and Aroma, going at a basic Pokemon if you so wish. But Mew is not great against a Pokemon that can't KO itself.
Yeah, probably not the greatest of targets, that blustery wind, to be honest. We do see Ultra Ball going to discard a Lugia V and a Lugia V Star, which was taken off the Capturing Aroma, and that's going to grab another Minchina. Now that is a good attacker right there. Genome Hack, however, I mean, blustery wind, I mean, it would be for 120. There isn't a double turbo attached. Not really threatening too much, but I guess in theory that could bring the Pidgeot down for a Tempest Dive. Or we do see Luminion, actually. Let's see what this grabs. Going to be a Serena.
Now, the Minion always makes me nervous because it's got very low HP. I'm just looking at the deck list here, Shay, and I'm going, hang on a second. Mine's taking 3 prizes, right? Radiant Greninja.
Right.
Magma Basin.
Right.
There is a possibility for Sander to KO that Mew next turn.
Yeah, that is true.
It's awkward, but it is absolutely doable. It does seem like we are bringing up the Rotom with Serena. So now Lugia is going to be getting a KO on the Rotom. Now you don't even need Magma Basin anymore. And this is really awkward.
Yeah.
But this is a great play from Martin, because now you can't use Radiant Charizard to KO the Lugia, because Mew will copy Radiant Charizard. And you can't use Radiant Charizard to KO the Mew, because Lugia will KO Radiant Charizard. That was a wonderful heads-up play. Having the Serena to KO the Rotom basically means that Sander cannot use Radiant Charizard anymore, and having 2 attackers set up with 1 prize remaining, oh, I don't know, it's looking pretty good for mine at this point.
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty dangerously close to a checkmate right at this point. Like, how do you deal with this if you're Sander? Like you said, 2 attacking threats that are both really strong. I mean, we do see 2 is Jet Energy into the Snorlax block. Is that the way out of this? I mean,
the answer is Entei, incidentally. So Entei can KO Mew, and it can take a hit from Lugia.
Right.
So and that actually brings my whole Magma Basin thing right back into play. Essentially, if you can Entei Energy Magma Basin, then you can hit for, well, if you filled up your, you didn't need to fill up your bench really, would you?
We're going to see trade.
You could have 1 bench space left, and then you'd be hitting 180. That would KO the Mew, assuming there's no V-Guard, which I don't think, that's not a V-Guard on the Mew, is it?
No, it's a Gift Energy and 2 Jet.
There we go. So you could actually go ahead here and get a KO on Mew with Entei, and then the only kind of backup attacker is Lugia, which doesn't get a KO on Entei, and you could only get a maximum of 3 special energy onto Cinccino, which means it could only hit a maximum of 210, which also wouldn't KO the Entei. So that's what I'm looking at right now.
So Entei is the savior.
I'm not saying it's a great plan, right? I'm not saying it's not awkward. I'm saying you cannot attack with Radiant Charizard without losing the game, and nothing else. You're not KOing Lugia without throwing the game, so you kind of have to find something else. And I'm just saying, Entei can KO Mew. You need Entei, you need Magma Basin, you need Gusting. It is not an ideal scenario. The other option is, have we seen Hero's Cape yet?
No, it's in the hand. It's in Sander's hand right
so
now.
You can use Radiant Charizard with Hero's Cape?
On the Mew, yes.
It's, I mean, ooh. You'd be 10 HP remaining, but you can.
Yes.
You can do it, but you're right. Hero's Cape on that means you can't get the KO on Lugia.
Yes. So let's see.
It's not a wonderful plan either way. There are options is what we're saying. They're just all kind of annoying. Does look like he's eyeing up that Charizard, but you'll need Gusting at the same time.
Yeah, just like did play the quick search, or has been used, I should say, but there is, debating it. So that there is the Radiant Charizard Hero's Cape basic fire energy combination. Yeah,
I said you can't play Radiant Charizard, and that is true, but you can play Radiant Charizard if you combine it with Hero's Cape.
And there we do see the Calamitous Wasteland getting played. The retreat cost of basic non-fighting Pokemon get increased by 1. Doesn't affect Pidgeot, it's not a basic, but would affect the Radiant Charizard, funnily enough. So we are going to see an Iono. And let's see what Sander can do. Would love to draw into a counter catcher here. That would be ideal, but has used both copies of Trade and has used Pidgeot Quick Search. So there would be no extra cards. Would really like to draw into counter catcher here if possible. 4 cards. Do we see it? No.
No, we got Pidgeot, Power Pad, Bravery Charm, and a supporter card.
Misfortune Sisters.
Misfortune Sisters, but not counter catcher. So there was an option, and it was never a great option. It was never one that was that likely to work, but there was an option to KO Mew with Radiant Charizard, and then with the Hero's Cape, you will take a hit from Lugia. But it won't KO Lugia because it's going to be 30 damage short.
Yes. Did need that Defiance Band, but you can't have 2 tool cards attached to your eyes. Looks like we want to see a Blustery Wind instead.
But yeah, that's not what you want. For 130, minus 20, plus 30, you lose your deal. That is not the turn you wanted here. And now, I mean, Gusting will end the game for Martin. Gust summon up, KO it with Lugia. We see a restart here, drawing a couple of cards. Do we have any Gusting available?
No, I think it's Professor's Research, Mortis Conviction, and a Jack.
So we Professor's Research for Prime Catcher. And Martin wins game 2, and we are going to game 3, but I've got bad news for both of these players. It's a win and in. They need the win, and there's only 2 minutes remaining on the clock. So a great wave to pull out that game 2, but is it going to be enough, or is it going to leave both players out of contention for top 8 with a tie?
And the Prime Catcher coming in clutch there in Lugia. Martin opting to say Master Ball. Normally they expect we play in Lugia, but instead I'm going to use that Prime Catcher, you know, coming in clutch there. The Prime A-Spec there for sure, as Martin was able to clutch up that game 2. But as you did say, Ross, you know, time not on our players' side here. Currently 1-1. If this game 3 does not conclude in time and then 3 extra turns, that means it will not finish, which means this round will end in a tie.
And we've already got 9 players on 31 points or more, 10 players on 31 or more points. So a tie will not work for either of these players. It has to be a win, and even then it will go down to resistance. As to, there's going to be a couple players, like what we're looking at here. So there's going to be 1 spot in top 8 for a 31-point player. Just while we've got a second, Brent Tonneson, Tord Reklev, Juho Kalama with Future Box, Stein Nielsen, John Eng, Azul Garcia Griego, and Hermani Hetalati. I'm sorry for the pronunciation there. Those players, those 7 should be in, because they've all got 32 or more points. We got Faris Sakum on 31. We got Kay Wainwright on 31. We got Ryan Antonucci on 31. And we've got the winner of this game, if there is a winner, not a tie, on 31. So Ryan, Kai, Faris, and the winner of this game would be potentially having, you know, that fight for that last 8 places, but it looks like 7 of top 8 a lot. Tord, Brent, Juho, Stein, John, Azul, and Hermani. Those 7 players should, as far as I'm looking here, should be locked into top 8. Can anyone pull off a big win here to try and force themselves into contention for that 8th spot?
Oh no, both players will be trying their best. Prize cards, Mew EX, we saw get used a bit there. Rotom V, Purloin in the prizes for Sander, and that Mew EX and 1 copy of Lugia V-Star, and that 1 copy of Collapsed actually for Martin. Probably not going to be too impactful in a 2-minute game, but yeah, or a 2-second game. That should be time. Time has been called. We have had confirmation as well.
So we've seen this on a few games on stream this weekend. When time gets called this early into game 3, the general theory is we look to see if anybody's going to take a super early win. If we see multiple Pokemon played by both players, we'll usually see an agreement that this game isn't going to end. It will go into a tie, but unfortunately a tie will not be enough for either player. A win puts them into a tie, ironically, for 8th place. But a tie will eliminate both of these players from day 2 contention.
Top 8 contention.
That's what I meant. Part 2 of day 2 contention. There you go.
There we go.
Nailed it.
So it looks like that instant charge being used there for Sander, as we did see the body pathing for a Pidgey. And the Purloin, we're going to see a Capture and Aroma. That's going to be a Tails. So that'll be a basic Pokemon. Let's see what Martin can do.
Well, it's probably going to be a Minccino. Went straight to the front of the deck there. That may well be what you're looking for.
Yeah, let's see what he opts to grab here. You know, Minccino would be nice. Start applying some pressure. Going to go for Lugia V instead. Just going to make sure I'm going to do Summoning Star. Ultra Ball, going to get rid of Archeops and Lugia V.
So that's 1 Archeops in the discard pile. That is what you're looking for. Of course, this is turn 1 of time now. Sander was turn 0.
Yep.
So Martin will be turn 1. Martin's got this turn and 1 more. Sander has got, well, exactly 1 turn remaining. But I don't see, I mean, Sander's deck is not made to take multiple prizes. Honestly, the fact that there's 2 Pokemon down on Martin's side and 3 on Sander's side, that should basically guarantee we end in a tie here. Because, well, Martin's not even taking a prize this turn.
No.
It's a setup turn. So both players can take 1 KO. Brilliant. Both players got more than 1 Pokemon out. So I think at this stage we are heading towards a tie. We're going to be seeing if we can set up. Maybe there could be some shenanigans going around here. Oh, actually, John Eng made top 8 with Chen Pao.
Right.
So I'm just saying, totally nailed that. Like halfway through yesterday, I told you that was happening.
You did. I'll give you credit there.
I followed the pattern. It's totally happening. Back in this game, we've got a second Minccino and a Lugia. Is that 3 Tails on Capturing Aroma in a row?
It was 3 in a row.
But you want 1 head to go and get an Archeops. That's annoying.
Yeah, it is annoying, but, you know, that's the way the dice fell. We are going to see a read the wind. Going to discard another Lugia V. Draw 3 over to Sander, who will be turn 2. And he's going to start the turn off there with a Nest Ball.
Yeah, got a Nest Ball there. Seems to be eyeing up that Entei. Entei, of course, is the big attacking threat. Judge there just switching over the die to confirm. You can see it there right in the middle of the records. We are on turn 2 out of 3 of time here. So Sander can win if he can KO a Lugia and both Minccino this turn. Which I don't want to be mean and say it, I think it might be impossible.
Entei needs to go up Mount Silver and train hard to come up with some kind of attack that can KO the active and 2 bench Pokemon as well.
That would be very good attack.
It would be a very good attack. Or that Charizard as well. They can both go up the mountains and do some training. They need to try and maybe a technical machine of some sort, learn a new move. But as it stands now, you're right. Sander would have to pull off nothing short of a miracle to get this win.
And to be fair, Sander's gone and got 5 Pokemon out on the bench, so I feel confident Martin is also not going to be KOing all 5 of them on his turn. There's the handshake. We do have a tie here. Both players recognizing that this game cannot end in anything other than a natural tie, and that will unfortunately not be enough for either player. So unfortunately, that's what happens when you play control. You have these long games, and this can happen. So commiserations to both of those 2 players, but we do have 7 of the top 8 locked in here. I didn't tell you the decks before. So here are the decks we have in top 8. Tord Reklev with Charizard EX, Brent Tonneson with Lost Zone, Moon and Iron Hands, Juho Kalama with Future Box, Stein Nilsson with Lost Zone the Radiant Charizard build, John Eng with Chen Pao getting 1 step further again. Unfortunately, so far it doesn't look like he's going to be making top 4 because it's 1 step further every tournament. But you never know. Maybe he can break that.
Maybe.
We got Azul Garcia Griego with Snorlax Control and Hermione with Lost Zone Roaring Moon Iron Hands. We've got 2 of those.
Yep.
No Ancient Box, unfortunately, made it.
Nope.
And it looks like that final spot is going to come down to Faris Sakun with Charizard, Kay Wainwright with Charizard, or Ryan Antonucci with Snorlax Control. They are the players that seem to be vying for that last spot in top 8. So there is one control. Azul made it with control. There could be a second. The only deck currently represented twice. We've got 2 Charizard, and we've got 2 Lost Zone, Roaring Moon, Iron Hands.
There we go. So Azul, one of our players to watch there all the way back at the start. We all picked well there because we all got to pick that. So let's see how that top 8 pans out. We'll have to wait a little bit though until we have confirmation of all that. So we're going to have a quick break now. Don't go too far though, because we're getting to the business end of the day now. Top 8, top 4, then our final where we will crack